Morning guys and welcome back. So in today's video we're just going to go over how to know if you're training properly and what the key facts of training properly are. And basically a lot of people think if you get DOMS you've trained properly, but that's not exactly true. Yes, DOMS is a sign of training properly and that you've broken down the muscles, but you can have a really good training session and not get DOMS. And if you're not aware what DOMS are, it's delayed onset muscle soreness, which is basically the next day after a gym or the next 2 days after a gym, you're having muscle soreness. That's basically what DOMS are. So let's jump into me in the gym and I'll explain ways you know you've had a good workout. So today we're just running through my program on the push and pull section. So we start off with a bench press, and this is me just warming up with a nice lightweight. And it's really important to warm up, because if you don't warm up doing light weights or stretches, you're going to end up injuring yourself. And as you can see, I'm just focusing on the proper technique, making sure I'm doing a nice slow range of movement, really focusing on the decentric part, so really slowly bringing it down and then pushing it back up. And this is just a good way to get yourself used to the tempo you want to be benching at, because if you do it with a heavy weight straight away, you've got a higher chance of injuring yourself. So it's always important to warm up before you work out. So what are the tips for knowing you've got a good workout? So this is one of them, is making sure your tempo is the same on every rep and you're following a correct range of movement you want to be doing. So here we are, just moving into one of the last working sets on the bench press. I didn't want to get it all in because it'd be boring showing you all my workout. It's like an hour long, well, hour and a half long in the gym, and I don't think you guys want to be watching all of that. So I've just edited out and just shown you some main things. So here I'm on the last set of a bench press. So one of the key factors to making sure you train properly is having the right range of movement. So having the right range of movement is really important, because that's when you're really stretching the muscle on the way down, and then as you're exploding up, you're forcing a fast twitch and all the other fibers to basically work together. And it's a really good way to make sure you've got the full range of movement, because then that way you're stretching the muscle as long as possible, and it basically improves the amount of muscle you're able to grow if you're doing a full range of movement. So another important thing to focus on is your time under tension, and this is basically how long it takes you to do your reps. You should be making sure your reps are really slow at the beginning, and as it gets harder you speed up. So you see on the last couple of reps I was really having to grind it out, and that's another way to make sure you're training properly, is your last 1 or 2 reps have to be a real grind to get it out. And you shouldn't go to a point where you can't get it, say failure, but you should push yourself as close to failure as possible, and then that way you are making sure you have a good workout. And here we're just using the band so we can overload the weight. And yeah, another thing to make sure you are training properly is the effort you're putting in. You shouldn't be half-assing it. So yes, you should be making sure you're really pushing yourself to the limit, basically not selling yourself short. That way you're making sure you're having a good training session. And also another thing to focus on is your mind-muscle connection. So this is, you want to be really feeling it in the muscle you're meant to be training. So here I'm trying to focus on pushing through my triceps. So as you can see, I'm bringing it really low down, making sure I'm engaging the triceps. And as you see, the really deep range of movement here. And yeah, I may be having a spotter, but that's because I'm already fatigued. So having a spotter is kind of really helpful, because it will get you that 1 or 2 last extra reps if you're struggling. So jumping back to DOMS, yeah, you may get DOMS, and it is a good sign if it means you've really broken down the muscles, but you shouldn't be training to get DOMS, because that increases your chance of injuring yourself. And I am sorry, but just look at the lats here, you can really see them stretched down, and I'm really happy with how my lats are, and my personal trainer was just saying, look at the bulge here, and I'm really happy with how I'm growing them, and this exercise I'm doing is so beneficial, and it's just important to make sure you've got the right position. And I had to move myself forward on a bench a bit because my head wasn't fully supported, and I just felt like I was about to tip off backwards. So here we are, we're doing it with a band, so adding that extra resistance, and as you can see the muscle working so much in this vest. So that's another thing I enjoy doing, is watching my workouts back, so I can see that I'm really contracting the muscles that I want to be working. So here I'm focusing on my lats, and you can see my lats doing so much movement here. And another key way to make sure you're training properly is to actually have a program and follow your program, because there's no point going in half-ass in the gym and like, oh, I'm going to do this today. So when you have a program and you can basically track it, so you're like, I've got to do this today, I'm doing this exercise, so it gives you a structure, so you know exactly what you're going to be doing in the gym. Because yeah, it's all good going to a gym, but if you don't plan what you're going to be doing, you're just be like, oh, I'll just do my favourite exercise even though I done it the other day. So the last thing I would say is track your workouts, because then this way you can monitor the weight you've been doing, and you can basically say, right, I've done this weight for this many reps, and to progressively overload, you can say, right, I'll up it by a little bit of weight, or I'll add in one more set or a couple more reps onto each set. So then you're applying progressive overload, which is a really good way to increase your strength and train properly, because that way you're shocking your muscle each week by progressively overloading the weight and either the amount of reps you're doing. So yes, this is actually the day after the gym I'm filming this part, and I actually do have DOMS myself today, and I am really sore. I could barely lift my arms, which is quite a bad thing considering I had to be using my arms a lot in work. So I'm extra fatigued, really tired, and I'm so glad it's a rest day. And a lot of people don't realise how important it is to rest. The rest is the phase where your muscles actually recover and build bigger, because if you have shit rest, your muscles aren't going to recover and you're not going to be able to go as hard as possible in the next time. So just remember that, and I want to say thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.